The Leafs stars shine bright at All-Star Weekend. We'll recap the festivities along with some news and notes from the weekend, including a development on Tyler Bertuzzi, which suggests a big second half could be coming for the Leafs winger. I'll explain that one in a little bit. We'll also get to tonight's game. Leafs and Islanders start the unofficial second half of the season. We'll preview that matchup for y'all as well. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leafs-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Appreciate you taking over last week, Dave. I did go out on vacation at kind of perfect timing as there was no Leaf games to watch and to report on. But there was a lot of news and obviously the NHL All-Star Game to tee up, which you did a fine job last week, and now we get to break it all down. How did it kind of live up to expectations for you? What did you make of the full All-Star week? Did it live up to expectations? Was it a little, dry as you expected, or, what were your overall takeaways from All-Star weekend?
Well, first off, welcome back. Glad you had a good time on your trip, a really good time on your trip. And yeah, I would say the All-Star game, like the All-Star weekend itself, I didn't have high expectations because the NHL has been like one of those try hard, try to do these gimmicky things, and it kind of just landed on their head. Like there were good moments, there's bad moments, and I felt like I thought it was pretty solid at the end of the day when you think of like how everything went. Yeah, there were some unfortunate moments that didn't look good on the league and some of the players, Nikita Kucherov. But like other than that, like I thought, the players were a little more into it this year than I've seen in past years. I think the celebrity additions were like fantastic. I don't think anyone had anything negative to say really about how the celebrities all worked out.
The Buble press conference took on a bit of a, caught some wind. I know that for a fact because, like, I wasn't able to really watch everything in full because I wasn't in the country and, outside of Canada, getting hockey coverage, especially in the Caribbean, isn't the easiest thing in the world. But I was able to catch up on social media to a lot of the viral moments that happened throughout the weekend. And I went back and I watched the highlights. But one of the more viral moments was the Michael Bublé press conference. Like that literally took on a life of its own and took off on Twitter talking about how, he may have been on some magic mushrooms and then tried to kind of walk it back the next day. Like, I don't know, man. Like it was a weird press conference. But yeah, the game itself, and I think the festivities itself, from what I've heard, it really was a successful weekend, which is good to see because, Toronto put it on and it was the city's opportunity. They had a chance to, put the All-Star game back on the map. Like the last few have really been nothing. Like no one has cared about them, the players, the fans. Like it just really was just something that had to be done almost to fill sponsorship ads. It felt like, but no one really cared about it. It felt like people actually cared again. And I credit the city of Toronto and the league and the players for making that happen. Did you happen to get out to any of the events in the city?
I didn't, and I was kicking myself a little bit because I know a lot of friends and people were like, "Oh, I went to the Fan Fest. It was so much fun."
Yeah.
I literally saw people I know were at that Justin Bieber impromptu concert that he did after the draft. It looked like a great time. Like that's where I was kicking myself. I didn't get a chance to actually be like when an event like this is in your city, like it means so much. Like this is why it means so much more to those who host the game, because it's it's just like the stars are here. All the top players in league are here. You don't get that all. It's very rare that it happens, right? Last time legitimately this has happened in Toronto was 2016 when they did the World Cup of Hockey. So you had like a collection of stars in the city, right, participating in an event like this. So it brought a little bit of a buzz to the city, you know. There wasn't really a lot going on this weekend. There was like no football, right? So like this legitimately was the only thing to really captivate a sports audience.
Yeah, and I thought that they did a really good job, and the game seemed really competitive, and obviously Team Matthews coming out victorious, and with the Maple Leafs, Matthews essentially just drafting all of his buddies, making sure that the Leafs all end up on the same team, which I thought was kind of funny. But they come out victorious with a victory over Team McDavid, and it's kind of what we wanted to see, right? Matthews versus McDavid in the final. That's exactly what we got, and they end up winning the game. It was a 7-4, I want to say, was the final, I believe, in the last game there. But yeah, they come out victorious. Auston Matthews gets team MVP. What did you make of the game itself?
I mean, it was an awesome game. Like that one there, you could tell like the players wanted it. Like the first few games, it kind of felt a little sluggish, right? Players weren't giving their full all, but like in this game, the goaltenders were like the stars of the show. Then eventually,
Bobrovsky robbed Marner.
Like, that was like,
I was like, oh, this is Bobrovsky from May. Bobrovsky from May has come back to bite us again.
It was like you watch and it's like, oh, we're gonna get this Bobrovsky now, huh? On the All-Star game. And like Shesterkin was so good, he had like so many good saves. But then Auston Matthews with the patent and goal, like that one timer he scored was just chef's kiss, like
oh yeah,
unreal. Like it was just those moments, like to know that like he wanted to win that game. Justin Bieber was like all over the guys. They wanted to win that game. They didn't want to lose, especially to McDavid, right? That's what there was a bit of like a rivalry effect to it. I mean, and the other thing too, the chirps after the fact from Pasternak. I don't know if you saw.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh,
I saw it.
You know what? Anybody don't honestly, if you're a Leafs fan, embrace it, man. Embrace something like that. Because you know what?
Well, if you missed the I mean, we saw him, but if you missed the comments, essentially, someone afterward asked Pasternak, "Oh, what'd you make of the Leafs? Team Matthews winning the event?" And he basically said, they haven't won much, so it's nice for them to get one every now and then. And I mean, he's not wrong. Unfortunately, he's not wrong. But hopefully, it's just the start for Team Matthews and the Maple Leafs. Hopefully, it is just the start. But not to go back to being a Debbie Downer, but All-Star games and like those aren't the problem, right? Those are just skills showcases essentially. The Leafs got all the skill in the world. It's when they actually, teams start defending and playing hard on you and hitting is when the Leafs sometimes buckle, and that's what happens come playoff time. So what does this mean? Ultimately, probably not a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, but it's still a nice weekend for the Maple Leafs and for Marner, Matthews, Riley, Nylander. Bieber was a great addition, and obviously, they all come out victorious. And congratulations, I suppose, is in order for them. But yeah, overall, it seemed like a really good weekend, and everyone seemed to have fun. But hey, the Leafs get right back at it right away. They get the New York Islanders coming to town. Patrick Waugh coming back to Scotiabank Arena tonight as the bench boss for the Islanders. So why don't we take a break, regroup? We'll come back, tee up the game. Then we'll get to some of the other news and notes around the league as well. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. It's almost the halfway point in the season, Leaf fans, and regardless of where we are in the standings, I want to remind you that you can win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. It's the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our #1 choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. To all you have to do is pick whether studs like McDavid or McKinnon or Crosby, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, whoever will record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minuses, and more in any given game. And you can win 100 times your bet on Sleeper. You need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Leaf fans. You can win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use and details and locational availability. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. We're a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast. Our pod is available anywhere you get your podcast from audio-wise, and you can also find us on YouTube as well for the video version of the pod. Check us out at Locked On Leafs on YouTube. Got the Leafs and Islanders tonight, Dave. Patrick Waugh comes to town, and look, these two teams kind of heading in different directions, right? The Leafs actually won a few games to end off their pre-All-Star break, I suppose, with a couple nice back-to-back wins against the Winnipeg Jets. And the Islanders, though, they won their first game of Patrick Waugh against the Stars, but they've lost 3 straight since, so just 1-3 since Patrick Waugh became head coach. Probably not what Lou Lamoriello was expecting when he made that coaching change a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, they've been close games, but like the Islanders, I was talking actually a little bit with Gilmore from Locked On Islanders yesterday. I was appearing on the Locked On NHL podcast, and yeah, it's not a good feeling right now with the Islanders. You know, they don't know. It's tough to know exactly what direction they really want to go in, because they're not in a position where they can, you know, should be buying right at the trade deadline, but at the same time they can't just also sit back too much, because this is it was a bit of an opportunity here, right? With the Metro a little more open than we've seen in past years. Like there's an opportunity here for the Islanders to really push, and like technically they still can. They're only, I think, 4 points back of the Flyers. So like they still have a lot to play for, but yeah, their latest streak here hasn't been good. They've been allowing a lot of goals against, like a very un-Islanders like team, like especially when you have just Sorokin in that.
Yeah, which is strange too, because you think like Patrick Waugh comes in, that should probably mean this team's going to want to play some better defense and get some good goaltending, but hasn't necessarily been the case. They're not scoring either. They've been limited to 3 or less in 8 straight games, and every game that Patrick Waugh has been behind the bench. So, you know, it's a team that doesn't score a lot. So for the Leafs, it's pretty much, you know, race to 3. If the Leafs can get 3 goals tonight, they should be in good shape, because the Islanders have not been able to score more than that over the course of the last few weeks here. So, you know, that's going to be one of the keys to kind of watch tonight, is who can get to 3 first. And Ilya Samsonov is going to get the start in net for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He'll make his 4th consecutive start. Looked real good, man. Looked really good prior to the All-Star break. Started those 3 games in Seattle, and then the back-to-back, or not a back-to-back, but the home and home against the Winnipeg Jets. In those 3 games, 3-0, a .960 save percentage, a .98 goals against average. I mean, you got to hope that he can continue that through the All-Star break and have another great game tonight against the Islanders. If that's the case, if he can, you know, take a 10-day break and then come back and still be a solid goaltender and look the part of the #1, can we officially, if he has success tonight, Dave, can we officially say, all right, we're bought back in, Samsonov is back?
I think we can get close. I wouldn't say it's for sure, but I think that you're like, I was getting close during the before the break. Like 3 games is a good stretch, but yeah, I need a little bit more from him. I need to see him take on, a starter's workload, which he did just before. I just need to see a little bit more, but I'm close. I would be close if he were to do it tonight. I'm actually gonna be at the game tonight, so I will get a really good chance to see it. I'll actually be in the 100 area. I'm like very excited. I am always up high.
So anyone going to the game, bet for overtime to happen if that's the case, because every game Dave goes to seems to go to OT. And the last 2 games between these 2 teams have gone to overtime. The Islanders came out victorious in both of those. But I mean, hey, maybe the third time's a charm, and Toronto could win this game in overtime, perhaps. They'll have to do it without David Kampf, though. David Kampf will not be available for tonight's game against the Islanders. Was there a reason, what's the injury here?
All that Sheldon Keefe says that there was something that happened before the break, and it seems like it didn't get any better. They're going to do an MRI. He's going to be out, and they're going to just see what the MRI has to reveal. It seems similar to what happened with Bobby McMahon. Dealing with an injury, it got worse, so they're putting him on IR. Like, it's very there like nothing I could see, and nothing that anyone could see as a specific issue with David Kampf. Like, this one came out of nowhere.
Yeah, like just last night when we were hearing from Keefe and just reporting what's going to be happening and what's not, and David Kampf was reported, oh yeah, he's not going to be in the game. It's like, huh? What happened? What are you talking about? No Kampf in tomorrow's game. Is there travel issues coming back from? Was it from Czech Republic or something?
I'm sure he went somewhere hot.
Yeah, possibly. Maybe he went down to the Caribbean and Florida with me. I don't know. Didn't see him, but perhaps he was down there as well. So no David Kampf tonight, which means does that mean that Revo draws back in again? I mean, he did score last game he was out there, so maybe they feel like they can throw him out there. They won the game as well, so I don't know. Maybe Ryan Reeves does find his way back into a lineup tonight. And I guess what Noah Gregor could probably slide into the middle. Do we have line combinations? Have they gone out?
Yeah, because yesterday the All-Star guys were off, so they had 3 lines.
Yeah,
practice. So I think it was Holmberg, Reeves, and Gregor it was McMahon, Holmberg, and Reeves as a line together.
Oh, so I wonder if McMahon's going to be activated later today.
Yeah. So I think that could be where it goes, and then Robertson, Domi, Gregor, Nyes, Tavares, Bertuzzi. I think that some of that had to do with also the All-Stars being off. But yeah, it looks like if Kampf, with Kampf being out, I would suspect that Holmberg will take his spot down in the middle, because I know he's been playing the wing lately. But this is what Pontus Holmberg is supposed to be about, like that Swiss Army knife, can play any different positions. So yeah,
so we'll see what ends up happening there. But I think that's probably a good call. Probably end up being Pontus Holmberg. You mentioned Tyler Bertuzzi, Dave. Tyler Bertuzzi. I don't even know if this guy was walking in the street, if I recognize him anymore. Tyler Bertuzzi has cut his hair, folks. He has cut his hair. His luscious locks are gone, and he's unrecognizable now. David Alter tweeted a video of him skating yesterday in practice. I don't look nothing like the guy. That kind of looks like, I don't know, David Kampf, like from that photo. Just clean cut guy. That's not the Tyler Bertuzzi that we know and love, Dave.
No, the lettuce is gone. That was one of his defining features. Now, for those who don't know, it's because he donated his hair to cancer. So it's a
good cause.
Good cause, right? And so he it was funny because I think there was a photo of him David Alter also posted a photo of him doing it, and they gave him like the Goldilocks sort of like pigtails. And he got braided as he got them cut. But yeah, that was like, you always knew where Tyler Bertuzzi was on the ice because of the hair. now I'm going to be watching out for him tonight, and I probably will miss him a few times on the ice because unless I'm looking for the number, I'm not going to see that hair to distinguish him.
Well, I tell you what, like, new guy, who dis? Tyler Bertuzzi was so snake bitten in the earlier portions of this season, that whole first half, basically. I mean, the fact that the guy has like 6 or 7 goals on the year, like, he's just, it's incredible because he finds himself in good spots, and he finally scored a goal the other night, and it got called off and waved off, and upon review was still called a no goal. So, even that's how unlucky he's been, where he scores and then they're like, nah, we're going to take that off the board. Maybe this is a chance where he's, slate's clean, right? New hair, cut off the hair, and you're a new guy, and hopefully a second half he can go on a bit of a run here. Because, let's be honest, this is a big offseason signing. They're hoping to get a lot out of him, hoping to get, for him to provide secondary scoring, and it just has not been the case. That has not developed for him and for the Maple Leafs, and they really need it to start happening soon. So I don't know. Like, I'm not that superstitious of a guy, but some people are, and cutting your hair off sometimes can be a form of, hey, things aren't going well, I need to make a change. And one of the biggest changes people can make to their life is a hairstyle, and going from long luscious locks to high and tight and tidy up top. It's a big difference. Maybe that'll allow the hockey gods to give him an extra bounce or two in the second half of the season. What do you think?
Get some good karma heading your way, and hopefully the hockey guys will reciprocate. Because he's been snaping way too much this year, and like, I know it's been a disappointing year for him, but like he's still, like, it hasn't impacted his ability to just do whatever he can to try to score. Like, he gets himself into good positions, and someone is just
I'm pretty
saying,
I'm pretty sure he leads the Leafs in like expected goals, like expected goal differential when out on the ice. So, like, good things are happening when he's on the ice. It's just the guy can't buy a goal. It's really it's something. On FanDuel, our official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Network, he tonight to score a goal is plus 320 for Tyler Bertuzzi to put one in the back of the net. Maybe worth a sprinkle. All right, let's take a break. Let's come back and let's get to some of the news and notes from around the weekend. We had a coaching firing. We had a trade as well. So we'll get to that and more on the other side. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who's going to win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers, they can join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Network. Hello and welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DiStefano and Dave Morassutti. And through the All-Star weekend, there was quite a bit of news that ended up breaking. I mean, you had the Elias Lindholm trade that broke, I guess, earlier in the week, but still, that was, approaching All-Star weekend. A lot of reactions from that trade and were talked about within All-Star weekend, especially with so many Canucks being there. But also, we had another trade that kind of fell out after that, and it was Sean Monahan going to the Winnipeg Jets for a first-round pick. Sean Monahan, who the Montreal Canadiens were given a first-round pick to acquire from Calgary a couple of years ago. They ended up re-signing him to a contract this offseason. Pretty cheap deal. It's like 1.7 in that range. And then flipped him to Winnipeg. What was this? This might have been Friday or Saturday. I think this deal went down for a first-round pick. So they ended up getting 2 first-round picks out of Sean Monahan. Quite, as much as you hate to say it, but quite the tidy piece of business from the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, I know. For Montreal, you have to be ecstatic, like, to recoup those assets. And like, it was, I think Frank Sarvalli was the first one to bring this up. Like, could the Montreal Canadiens get 2 first-round picks? Now, the way he initially said it, people were like, 2 first-round picks for Sean Monahan. What are you talking about? But it's like, well, they already got one for him when they did the trade from Calgary. Right. So now this is another just icing on top of the great Sunday that was this deal for Montreal.
Yeah, it seemed a little expensive, I guess. Yep. I could say, like, just because of the injury history to Sean Monahan, and I don't believe there was like protections on this pick. I mean, there may be like lottery protections, but like it's going to be a guaranteed first. It's not a conditional upon anything. So it's kind of wild that Monahan was able to go for a first. Just a year and a half after it took a first-round pick to unload him to another team. But that was a good pickup for Winnipeg. I mean, we just saw them against Toronto, and they got a couple injuries, obviously, but you add someone like Monahan into that lineup, into the middle six. I think that's a really good add for Winnipeg. He could have been one of those guys at Toronto. I think could have targeted as a potential, third line center for the Maple Leafs. Mm-hmm. So that's one of their targets that now come off the board for the Leafs, and they'll have to kind of turn their attention elsewhere. I know we're like still a month out from the NHL trade deadline, but I think that there's still there's so much chatter about what's going on. Like, is there a guy at this point that you're kind of zeroing in on? I know it's kind of on the spot, but is there someone who's like a perfect fit, you think, for Toronto at this point?
Well, if you ask everyone, Chris Tanev is like the goal. Everyone's going, how there's like that Wolverine meme with he's holding the picture frame. Everyone's got Chris Tanev in that picture frame right now, I think.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not that's actually feasible, considering what we're seeing prices right now, and Craig Conroy just getting absolute full value for that Lindholm deal, like, it makes you wonder like what Tanev can go for, considering the position he plays and things like that. The thing is like, other than Tanev, we haven't heard anyone else that fits what the Leafs need, that you could say, you know what, if they don't get Tanev, they can go get this guy instead. Like, somebody in the in our YouTube comments the other day put David Savard up. David Savard, look, decent defender, tough. He brings that toughness and things like that.
He's not a third pair guy.
Yeah, like he's a third pair guy making $3.5 million.
Yeah. He's not someone I'm in love with. That's for sure.
No.
I thought so. I was at a hockey card show yesterday, and I didn't read this because I was kind of checked out for the week on vacation. But he was mentioning that he had read somewhere that they may possibly have interest in David Juracek from Columbus if he's available. That's an interesting name.
It's a very interesting situation there because it was actually probably one of the bigger news things coming out going into the All-Star break, where he was basically thrown back into the AHL. Not happy about that because this is a player who who believes he should be in the NHL, right? And so I think he was given I wouldn't say he was given a guarantee, but it was word that he was told, oh, go get yourself a place, right? You're going to be in the NHL. And then you send the guy to the AHL, especially a rookie. That's not great. And so, he's frustrated. And now, he's potentially, I mean, we know Columbus is going to be selling off defensemen. They got so many guys. this is probably
He-
not the one they want to sell off. if you're gonna
Probably
do that.
not, but if the relationship is souring, this would be kind of the perfect kind of player because he's a young guy, right? And he can kind of anchor this Leafs team for a long time, a long, long time. He's a right-handed shot, which the Leafs have coveted for years. 6'4", 200 pounds. He can, he can move the puck. Like this is the kind of player that the Leafs kind of need. So that is an interesting name to keep an eye on, by the way. I don't know what it would take. Like he was the 6th overall pick like last year, 2 years ago, whatever, in the Slavkovsky draft. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But that was kind of a name that got floated out to me yesterday at the card show that I was at. And I thought it was very interesting. So I want to get your thoughts on it. There was one other little piece of news, not really little, it's actually massive news in the NHL from the weekend. There was a head coaching firing, which I did not expect to see at All-Star Weekend. I mean, that's tough. Hey, go enjoy your week off with your family, and then you get a call like Saturday morning. Oh, hello, you're being fired today, by the way. And that call went out to Todd McLellan, the LA Kings firing him. They named Jim Hiller the interim head coach. Again, I was somewhat checked out last week, but this definitely caught me by surprise when I saw that notification come through on my phone. What about you, Dave?
Well, I mean, it's surprising because, because of how the Kings started this year and how good they were, and they just wanted this tailspin. And like the last thing I thought about was that Todd McLellan was going to get fired because I didn't think he was really like the big part of the problem. Like Drew Doughty comes out, he kind of calls out the team. He didn't say anything about the coach, and like I understand, like he's been there, I think 5 seasons. Like this is his 5th season in LA. This is a guy who's, had brought this team kind of back to prominence a little bit, right after they kind of struggled a little bit. So that caught me off guard because again the timing of it, and things like that. So, but with the way that things have gone with Dubois, him being on a 4th line for a good stretch here during this like losing streak they've been on, I can understand that maybe they felt like there's a missed opportunity. Their big lead on the Oilers pretty much shrunk, which like I did not expect that to happen. So I can understand maybe where the little bit of the impatience from management was, but like last thing I expect was Todd McLellan's job to be on the line here, at least in season.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked for 2 reasons. One, because I wasn't expecting Tom McLellan to get fired, like at all. That definitely shocked me. But then for it to happen smack dab right in the middle of All-Star Weekend, it's tough you can't really bury a story like that on All-Star Weekend, right? That's tough. That's hard to do. But I'll tell you one thing, man. There's a common theme to every single coach that has gotten fired to this point this season. And what do you think that common theme is, Dave?
The common theme?
Yeah, it's very simple.
I mean, they've all been
Bad
on losing.
Bad bad goaltending. And look, at the beginning of the year, everyone looked at Cam Talbot and said, that's not going to get you very far. That's not the goaltending that you need to win a Stanley Cup. But credit to him. He started off the season really, really well. He was unbelievable in the first, few months of the season. Got voted into the All-Star break or into the All-Star game. Great season. And then the new year came, the calendar flipped, and he was abysmal. He's lost what now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight starts. He's lost 10 straight starts, this guy. That's bad. That is not good. That is very, very bad. He's lost 10 straight starts with a goals against north of 4 in those starts, north of 4, and a pretty crummy save percentage south of 900 as well. So again, you go back to every coach that's been fired this year, go look at their goaltending statistics. usually they got problems. And that's kind of where Todd McLellan finds himself. He never got a goalie not he, Rob Blake and Luke Robitaille and management in LA never got him a goalie, and he was forced to throw Cam Talbot. Well, the guy's 40 years old, damn near, and after a couple of months, things started to kind of hit the rails, and he wasn't able to recover. We'll see if Jim Hiller can get him to buy back in and get some better goaltending out of him. But 10 straight losses that he has started. He's given up 5 goals in 3 straight starts. No, technically only gave up 3, I guess. He gave up 3. Okay, so the last game, he gave up 3 goals in the first 20 minutes. He got yanked, and then gave up 5 in the 3 prior. So his last 4 games, he's been yanked twice and has given up 18 goals.
So the lesson in all this, if you're a team that has a goaltender, 2 or 3, Montreal, you may want to see if the LA Kings are going to pony up an asset or 2 to get a goaltender. Because I think
Yep. Jake Allen, probably. There's a couple teams out there that might be willing to pay for that guy. I would think at least, a 3rd round pick at the very least for a guy like that. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. There's a lot of teams that need some goaltenders and came into the year needing goaltending. And guess what? They still need it, Dave. The Devils, the Sabres, the Kings, the Oilers looks like they have found something here with Stu Skinner. But again, prior to the coaching change, Stu Skinner was also very bad and somewhat cost Woodcroft his job over in Edmonton. And they've been on an absolute heater, really, ever since Woodcroft was let go. And they didn't change a whole lot. It's pretty much the same team. So again, goaltending, a big reason often for the downfall of a coach in a city. And Cam Talbot, over the course of the last month and a bit, definitely part of the problem over there. All right, pal, you got anything else you want to bring up here before we go for the day?
A lot of people are hyping up Easton Cowan. He's been lighting it up right now with the London Knights. I don't know if you saw a goal over the weekend, a little toe drag, kick to the stick, backhand. Oh, just unreal. I think he's on an 18-game point streak right now.
Something like that. Yeah, I think I thought I saw number like 16, but it may be up to 18 now after the weekend. So yeah, he's having a pretty good D+1 year. That's exactly what the Leafs want to see. It's what we all want to see. Maybe we could reach out to the London Knights. Maybe we could try and speak with Easton Cowan. Maybe we'll put that on our to-do list over the next little bit here and try and get him on the Locked On Leafs pod because he's having a great year. I'd love to get a chance to chat with him. But that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs pod on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on X at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. If you enjoyed this video, if you're on YouTube, go ahead, leave a like and a comment down below. Your thoughts on All-Star Weekend. Was it good? Did you like it? Did it surpass your expectations? Or is it still a snooze fest that you do not care much about? I'd love to know your thoughts down below or reach out to us on Twitter. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Another reminder, game tonight. Leafs back in action, taking on the Islanders. Go Leafs go. We'll recap it on tomorrow's show. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.